I forgave her the same day I found out she had been lying to me for almost a year. That's what people don't understand when I tell this story. They think forgiveness comes after the shouting, the tears, the time apart, after the long nights of thinking and the long talks that somehow fix everything. But for me, it happened immediately, and it had nothing to do with saving us. It started on a Tuesday that should have been completely ordinary. I left work early because the internet went down in the entire office building. No emails, no meetings, nothing. My manager told us to just go home and enjoy the unexpected free time. I remember feeling weirdly lucky, like I had stolen a few hours from the universe. I didn't text her. I thought I'd surprise her. We had been distant for months, but not in a dramatic way. There were no fights, no slammed doors, just less talking, less laughing, less touching. Like something between us had quietly faded, and neither of us wanted to be the one to say it out loud. I thought maybe a surprise would fix that. I picked up her favorite takeout on the way home, the same place we used to go every Friday when things were still easy. I even bought a small bottle of wine, even though it was the middle of the week. I remember thinking, this is it. This is how we reset. When I got to our apartment, her car was already there. That should have been the first sign something was off. She had told me she'd be working late. There was a deadline, something important. She sounded tired when she said it, and I told her I'd probably be home late too. We were both lying, just in different ways. I walked up the stairs quietly, balancing the food in one hand, keys in the other. I didn't want to ruin the surprise by making noise. When I opened the door, the apartment was silent. No TV, no music, just the faint sound of the shower running. I smiled to myself. Perfect timing. I put the food down in the kitchen and set the wine on the counter. I even took a second to straighten the table, like it mattered, like it would somehow make the moment better. Then I noticed something on the chair. A jacket. Not mine. It wasn't just any jacket. It was a men's jacket. Dark, expensive looking, definitely not something she would wear. I stared at it longer than I should have. My brain tried to explain it away. Maybe it was her coworkers. Maybe someone had stopped by. Maybe. The bathroom door opened, and everything stopped. She stepped out first, wrapped in a towel, her hair wet, her face going completely still the second she saw me. And behind her, like a delayed echo, came him. He didn't look shocked. That's the part that stayed with me. He looked annoyed, like I had interrupted something. For a few seconds, none of us said anything. I didn't shout. I didn't throw anything. I didn't even feel angry. I just felt clear. Like every confusing moment from the past few months suddenly made sense all at once. Every late night, every canceled plan, every time she seemed just a little too distracted. All of it clicked into place so cleanly it was almost peaceful. She said my name first. Soft, careful, like she was stepping onto thin ice. I remember nodding. Not at her. Not at him. Just nodding. Okay, I said. That was it. No accusation. No question. Just okay. The guy muttered something under his breath, grabbed his jacket, and walked past me without making eye contact. I stepped aside automatically, like we were strangers passing each other in a hallway. The door closed behind him, and suddenly it was just the two of us. She was shaking. I could see it in her hands, in the way she held the towel too tightly around herself. I can explain, she said. And that's when I forgave her. Right there. Not because I understood. Not because I accepted it. But because I realized something I hadn't let myself see before. This wasn't new. This wasn't a mistake. This was something that had been happening while I was still trying to fix something that was already gone. You don't have to, I told her. She looked at me like I had just said something cruel. What do you mean? I leaned against the counter, suddenly very aware of how tired I felt. I mean, you don't have to explain it, I said. I already get it. That wasn't entirely true. I didn't know who he was. I didn't know how long it had been going on. I didn't know when exactly she stopped choosing me. But I understood the important part. She already had. You're not even going to ask? She said, her voice breaking. I shook my head. No. She took a step toward me, like she was trying to close the distance that had been growing for months. I didn't mean for you to find out like this, she said. It's complicated. It's not. I replied, more gently than I expected. And I meant it. It wasn't complicated. She had been building another life while still living in ours. That's all there was to it. I looked at the food sitting on the counter, still warm in the paper bag, and felt something inside me finally settle. I brought dinner, I said, almost to myself. She followed my gaze, and that's when she started crying. Real tears this time. Not because she got caught, but because, I think, she realized I wasn't going to fight for her. And that was the moment everything between us actually ended. She kept crying, but I didn't move to comfort her. That might sound cold, but in that moment, it didn't feel like I was holding something back. It felt like there was simply nothing left to give. For months, I had been the one reaching, the one asking if everything was okay, the one trying to plan weekends, dinners, anything that would bring us back to how we used to be. And every time, she had said we were fine. We weren't. We hadn't been for a long time. I was going to tell you, she said, her voice uneven. I didn't know how. I let out a quiet breath. That's not true. She froze. It is, she insisted quickly. I swear, I just needed time. You had time, I interrupted, still calm. You had months. The word hung in the air between us. Months. Her face changed. Not surprised. Not confused. Just caught. And that told me everything I needed to know. How long? I asked finally. She hesitated. Too long. 6 months, she said. I nodded again. Of course it was. 6 months ago was when everything shifted. When she started working late more often. When she stopped texting me during the day. When even simple conversations felt like work. I thought it was stress. I thought it was something I could fix if I just tried harder. Who is he? I asked. She looked down. His name is Daniel. He's from work. Of course he was. There's something almost predictable about that. Like a script people follow when they don't know how to leave but don't want to stay. Does he know about me? I asked. Another pause. Yes. That one stung more than I expected. Not because of him, but because it meant she had been telling our story to someone else while still living it with me. Does he think you're going to leave? I asked. She didn't answer right away. And that was answer enough. I pushed myself off the counter and walked to the table. I opened the bag, took out the containers, and set them down one by one. I don't know why I did that. Maybe because I needed something normal to hold on to. Maybe because I didn't know what else to do with my hands. Why are you doing that? She asked, her voice smaller now. I'm hungry, I said. That wasn't entirely true. But it was easier than saying I didn't know how to stand still in that moment without falling apart. She watched me like I was a stranger. Maybe I was. Say something, she said. I am, I replied. I'm asking questions. No, I mean something real. I looked up at her then, and for the first time, I saw what she was actually asking for. A reaction. Anger. Pain. Something that would prove I still cared enough to fight. But the truth was, the fight had already happened. Just not today. You want me to yell? I asked. Her eyes filled again. I want you to care. That hit harder than anything else she had said. Because I did care. Just not in the way she wanted anymore. I do, I said quietly. Just not like that. She shook her head, like she didn't understand. Or didn't want to. This isn't you, she said. You don't just shut down like this. I almost laughed. But there was nothing funny about it. I didn't shut down today, I said. You just didn't notice when it started. She took a step back, like I had pushed her. Maybe I had. Not with my hands. But with the truth. For a moment, neither of us spoke. The silence felt heavier now. Not awkward. Final. Are you going to leave me? She asked. There it was. The question she had been avoiding for months. Not, are we okay? Not, can we fix this? Just that. Are you going to leave me? I sat down at the table and opened one of the containers. The smell of the food filled the room, familiar and completely out of place. I don't think there's anything left to leave, I said. Her breath caught. That's not fair, she whispered. I looked at her. Really looked this time. At the person I had built a life with. The person I thought I would marry. And I tried to find the version of her I used to know. But all I could see was someone who had already made a different choice. It is, I said. It's just not what you wanted. She walked toward me then, faster this time. Please don't do this, she said. We can fix it. I made a mistake, okay? I messed up, but it doesn't have to end like this. There it was. The word. Mistake. I shook my head slowly. This wasn't a mistake, I said. Forgetting to call me back is a mistake. Burning dinner is a mistake. This, I gestured toward the door where he had left. This is a decision. One you kept making. Her face crumpled. I didn't mean to hurt you. I know, I said. And I did. That's what made it worse. She hadn't set out to destroy anything. She just stopped protecting it. And sometimes that does more damage than anything else. I picked up my fork and took a bite. It tasted exactly like it always had. And sometimes that does more damage than anything else. I picked up my fork and took a bite. It tasted exactly like it always had. And somehow that made everything feel even more unreal. What happens now? She asked. I swallowed, set the fork down, and wiped my hands slowly. Now, I repeated. I stood up. We stopped pretending. She stood there like she didn't know what that meant. Like the words themselves were simple, but the reality behind them hadn't reached her yet. Stop pretending what? She asked quietly. That this still works, I said. That we're still us. She shook her head immediately. No, we are, she said, almost too fast. We just hit something. People go through things like this. It doesn't mean everything is over. I watched her carefully. She believed that. Or at least she needed to believe it. And I realized something in that moment that made everything clearer than anything else at all day. She hadn't decided to leave me. She had decided to keep both. And now that the balance was broken, she wanted to put it back. You didn't plan to leave me, I said. It wasn't a question. She hesitated, then shook her head. No, she said. I didn't know how to end it. With him, I mean. I let that sit for a second. So you were going to keep going, I said. With both. That's not fair, she said again, her voice rising slightly. I was trying to figure things out. You figured it out, I replied. You just didn't say it out loud. Her breathing got heavier. I could see the frustration starting to build now. Not just fear, not just guilt, but something else. Something closer to anger. Why are you acting like you're perfect? She snapped. Like this is all on me. I didn't react right away, because part of me had expected this. When there's no fight to meet, people create one. I'm not perfect, I said, but I didn't lie to you for 6 months. That's not the same, she said quickly. You checked out too. I tilted my head slightly. Did I? Yes, she said, grabbing onto that. You stopped trying. You stopped talking. You were always tired, always distracted. I felt like I was living with someone who didn't even see me anymore. That almost made me smile. Not because it was funny, but because it was familiar. That's interesting, I said quietly. What is? That's exactly how I felt. She went silent. And just like that, the anger lost its footing. I asked you if everything was okay, I continued. More than once. You said it was. Every time. I didn't want to fight, she said. So you lied instead. I didn't lie, she insisted. I just avoided it. I nodded. Yeah, I said. That's another word for it. She ran her hand through her wet hair, pacing a little now. This isn't fair, she said again. But this time there was less conviction in it. Relationships aren't just black and white. We both made mistakes. I didn't disagree. That was the thing. She wasn't entirely wrong. We did, I said. She looked up at me quickly, like she had just found an opening. Exactly, she said. So why are you acting like this is over? We can work on it. We can fix what went wrong. I studied her for a moment, and I realized something else. She wasn't fighting for me. Not really. She was fighting for what we used to be, for the idea of us, for the comfort, the history, the life we had already built, but not for what we actually were now. Do you love him? I asked. The question caught her off guard. She started, then stopped. And in that hesitation, I got my answer. You don't know? I said. It's not that simple, she replied, softer now. It is, I said. You just don't want it to be. She looked at me like she wanted to argue. But she didn't. Because she couldn't. Do you love me? I asked. This time, she didn't hesitate. Yes, she said immediately. Of course I do. I believed her. That was the worst part. She did love me. Just not enough to choose me. And that's a different kind of truth people don't like to admit. I exhaled slowly. That's the problem, I said. What do you mean? You love me, I said. And you still did this. Her eyes filled again. I didn't mean for it to happen like this, she whispered. I know, I said. And I did. No one plans to break something slowly. It just happens. Choice by choice. Moment by moment. Until one day, there's nothing left to hold on to. I need you to leave, I said. The words felt steady. Clear. Final. She stared at me like she hadn't heard me right. What? I need you to leave, I repeated. Tonight. Her face went pale. This is my home too, she said, almost in disbelief. It was, I replied. The word hung there. Past tense. And that's when the panic finally set in. No, she said, shaking her head. You can't just decide that. We both live here. We can talk about this. We can figure something out. I walked past her, toward the bedroom. She followed immediately. Where are you going? She asked. To get you a bag, I said. Stop, she said, grabbing my arm. It wasn't aggressive. Just desperate. Please, she added. Don't do this like it's already over. I gently pulled my arm free. It is, I said. She stepped in front of me, blocking the doorway. Look at me, she said. I did. I said I'm sorry, she whispered. Doesn't that matter? It did. Just not in the way she wanted. It matters for you, I said. Not for us. She flinched like I had hit her. And maybe, in a way, I had. Because that was the truth she hadn't been ready to hear. I had forgiven her. Completely. But forgiveness doesn't rebuild something that's already gone. And I think, deep down, she knew that too. She didn't move out of the doorway right away. For a moment, we just stood there, facing each other in a space that suddenly felt too small for both of us. You're serious, she said. It wasn't a question anymore. I nodded. Yes. Something in her expression shifted then. Not panic. Not anger. Something quieter. Like realization finally catching up. Where am I supposed to go? She asked. That almost made me hesitate. Almost. You can call him, I said. The words came out calm, but I saw the impact immediately. Her lips parted slightly, like she hadn't even considered that. Or maybe she had, but never imagined it would come to this. That's not fair, she said, but there was no force behind it now. Neither is this, I replied. She looked away, and in that moment I saw it. Not just guilt, not just regret, but uncertainty. Because suddenly, her second option wasn't a secret anymore. It was real, and real things are harder to hide behind. I don't know if I can just show up there, she said. I nodded slowly. Yeah, I said. That's kind of the point. She swallowed, her eyes moving around the room like she was seeing it for the first time. The couch we picked together, the shelves we argued about putting up, the table where we had eaten hundreds of meals. It wasn't just a place anymore. It was a life she was about to step out of. I didn't think it would happen like this, she whispered. I know, I said. And I meant that too. Because if she had thought about it clearly, if she had actually imagined this moment, she would have made a choice earlier. Before everything collapsed. Before there was no version of this that ended cleanly. I just needed time, she added, almost like she was trying to convince herself. You had time, I said again, not harshly. Just truthfully. She closed her eyes for a second. And when she opened them, something had changed. Not fixed. Not better. Just accepted. Okay, she said quietly. That was the first time she had agreed to anything since I walked in. And somehow, it hurt more than all the arguing. Because it meant she finally understood. There was nothing left to negotiate. I stepped past her into the bedroom. She didn't stop me this time. I grabbed a bag from the closet and set it on the bed. For a second, I just stood there, looking at everything. Her side of the room. Her clothes. Her things. Pieces of a life that had felt permanent. Now temporary. Now already gone. What should I take? She asked from the doorway. The question sounded small. Like she was asking about a trip. Like she would be back in a few days. Just what you need for a couple of days, I said. The words were careful, not final, even though we both knew what they really meant. She nodded and walked over, slowly opening drawers, pulling out clothes without really looking at them. We moved around each other in silence. No arguments. No raised voices. Just the quiet process of undoing something that had taken years to build. At one point, our hands brushed when we both reached for the same drawer. She pulled back immediately. Sorry, she said. I nodded. It's fine. But it wasn't. None of this was. After a while, she sat down on the edge of the bed, holding a shirt in her hands. I never wanted to hurt you, she said again. I leaned against the wall, watching her. I know, I replied. She looked up at me, her eyes searching. Then why does it feel like you hate me? She asked. I shook my head. I don't hate you. That was true. Completely. I just don't trust you, I added. And that was the part that mattered. Because love can survive a lot of things. But trust? Once that's gone, everything else starts to fall apart. I can earn it back, she said quickly. I can fix that. I didn't answer right away. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I did. And I knew she wouldn't like it. You can't fix something you kept breaking on purpose, I said. Her face tightened. I didn't. You did, I interrupted, still calm. Every time you chose to lie. Every time you saw him. Every time you came home and acted like everything was normal. She looked down again. And this time, she didn't argue. Because there was nothing left to argue. We finished packing in silence. When the bag was full, she zipped it up slowly, like delaying the moment would somehow change it. It didn't. I picked up the bag and carried it to the front door. She followed a few steps behind. When I set it down, she stopped. This is it, she asked. There was something final in her voice now. Something that hadn't been there before. Yes, I said. She looked at me for a long moment. Like she was trying to memorize something. Or maybe trying to find a version of me that would change his mind. She didn't find it. Are you really not going to fight for us? She asked one last time. And there it was again. That word. Fight. I thought about it. About everything. About the months I had already spent trying. About the questions, the effort, the quiet ways I had tried to hold us together while she was already letting go. I did, I said. You just didn't see it. Her eyes filled, but she didn't cry this time. Not fully. Just enough to blur things. I guess I see it now, she whispered. I opened the door. Cold air slipped into the apartment, sharp and immediate. A contrast to everything inside. She picked up her bag, hesitating for just a second. Then she stepped past me. But she didn't walk away right away. She turned back. Like she needed one more thing. One last chance. If I leave now, she said slowly, is there any way back? The question hung between us. Heavy. Real. And for the first time that night, I didn't answer right away. Because the truth wasn't simple. And it wasn't easy. I could have lied. That's what I thought in that moment. I could have told her maybe. I could have said we needed time, space, distance. That we would figure it out later. That this wasn't the end, just a pause. It would have been easier. For her. Maybe even for me. But the problem with lies is that they don't just protect people. They delay reality. And I think we had both delayed it long enough. If you leave now, I said slowly, you don't come back. Her face changed immediately. Like something inside her dropped. Not shattered. Just settled. In a way that made everything final. Okay, she whispered. She nodded once. Like she was agreeing to something she didn't want but couldn't argue with anymore. Then she turned and walked away. I stood in the doorway, watching her go down the hallway, her steps slower than usual, like each one cost something. She didn't look back again. And when she reached the stairs, she disappeared. Just like that. No dramatic ending. No last words. No closure. Just absence. I closed the door and leaned against it, listening to the silence. It felt different now. Not heavy. Not tense. Just empty. I walked back into the apartment, almost expecting something to feel different immediately. But it didn't. The table was still set. The food was still there. Her glass was still on the counter. Everything looked exactly the same. Except it wasn't. I sat down and stared at the opposite chair. The one she used to sit in. And for the first time that day, I felt it. Not anger. Not even sadness, exactly. Just the weight of what was gone. Years. Memories. Plans. All of it reduced to a quiet room and a cold meal. I ate anyway. Slowly. Because stopping felt worse. When I finished, I cleaned everything up. Not because I needed to, but because I didn't know what else to do. Routine is a strange thing. It keeps you moving when everything else stops. That night, I slept on my side of the bed. Her side was still warm. I didn't move over. I didn't try to fill the space. I just stayed where I was, staring at the ceiling until exhaustion finally took over. The next morning, everything felt sharper, clearer, like the world had lost something, but gained focus in return. There were no messages from her. No missed calls. Nothing. And that didn't surprise me, because we had already said everything we needed to. Or maybe we hadn't, but there was nothing left that would change anything. I went to work. I answered emails. I talked to people. I did everything I was supposed to do. And no one knew. That was the strangest part. The world didn't pause. It didn't care. Everything kept moving like nothing had happened. And I just moved with it. A few days passed. Then a week. Then two. I didn't reach out. She didn't either. And somewhere in that silence, something inside me started to settle. Not heal. Not yet. But stabilize. Like a wound that had finally stopped bleeding. And then, one night, my phone lit up. Her name. I stared at it for a long time before answering. Not because I didn't know what to say, but because I didn't know if I wanted to open that door again. In the end, I picked up. Hey, she said. Her voice was different. Quieter. Careful. Hey, I replied. For a moment, neither of us spoke. Then she exhaled softly. I didn't know if you'd answer. I almost didn't, I said. She let out a small, sad breath. That's fair. Another pause. Then, finally, can we talk? I leaned back against the wall, closing my eyes for a second. We are talking, I said. You know what I mean, she replied. I did. She didn't want a conversation. She wanted a chance. I don't think there's anything left to say, I told her. That's not true, she said quickly. There's a lot we didn't talk about. Like what? Like us, she said. What happened? Why it happened? What it means. I listened, really listened, and I realized something that surprised even me. I didn't need those answers anymore. I already know what happened, I said. Do you? She asked. Yes. And you're just okay with that? I thought about it. About everything. About that moment in the doorway. About the way everything had clicked into place. Yes, I said. She was quiet for a few seconds. Then, I'm not. That didn't surprise me either. What do you want? I asked. The question was simple, but I knew the answer wouldn't be. I want to see you, she said. And just like that, the calm I had been holding on to shifted. Because seeing her was different. Talking on the phone was safe. Distant. Controlled. But seeing her? That meant stepping back into something I had already walked away from. I don't think that's a good idea, I said. Please, she said. Just one word. But it carried everything. Regret. Hope. Fear. And something else. Something that made me pause. I need you to hear me, she added. I opened my eyes, staring at the empty room around me. At the life that used to be full. And I realized something. I had forgiven her. Completely. But I hadn't actually faced her since that night. Not really. And maybe that mattered. Okay, I said finally. Okay, she repeated, like she couldn't believe it. One time, I said, we talk. That's it. I could almost hear her nodding. Okay, she said. Thank you. We agreed to meet 2 days later. At a small cafe we used to go to sometimes. Neutral ground. Public. Safe. When the call ended, I sat there for a long time, staring at my phone, wondering if I had just made a mistake, or if this was something I needed to do. I didn't have an answer, but I knew one thing. This wasn't about getting her back. It never had been. And whatever happened next, it wasn't going to change that. I got there early, not because I was eager, but because I didn't want to walk in and see her already waiting. I needed those extra minutes to sit, to breathe, to remind myself why I was there. And more importantly, why I wasn't. The cafe hadn't changed. Same small tables. Same low music. Same quiet conversations blending into the background. It felt strange how normal everything looked. Like nothing had happened. Like this wasn't the place where something final was about to be said. I chose a table near the window. Ordered coffee. Waited. Every time the door opened, my body reacted before my mind could catch up. A small tension. A quick glance. Then nothing. Until it was her. I recognized her immediately. Of course I did. But at the same time, something felt different. She looked tired. Not physically exactly. Just worn. Like the last few weeks had taken something out of her. She spotted me and stopped for a brief second. Just long enough to gather herself. Then she walked over. Hey, she said. Hey. She sat down across from me. The same seat she used to take. And for a moment, everything felt too familiar. Too easy to slip back into. What do you want? I asked. No small talk. No pretending. I saw it in her eyes. That hurt her. But she nodded. Okay, she said quietly. Straight to it. She took a breath. Then another. Like she was trying to find the right way to start. I ended it with him, she said. I didn't react. Not visibly. But inside, something shifted. Not hope. Not relief. Just acknowledgement. When? I asked. A week after I left, she said. I nodded. And? She looked at me, searching for something. I thought that would matter to you, she said. It matters, I replied. Just not the way you think. Her shoulders dropped slightly. Can you tell me how it matters then? She asked. It means you made a choice, I said. Eventually. She flinched at that word. Eventually. I made the wrong one before, she said. I know that. I didn't argue. Because she was right. I was confused, she continued. I thought I needed something different. Something new. And when it started, it felt easy. It felt like I could breathe again. I listened. Not judging. Just hearing it. But it wasn't real, she said quickly. Not like what we had. It was temporary. I see that now. I leaned back slightly. Do you? I asked. Yes, she said firmly. I do. I studied her face. Looking for hesitation. Doubt. Anything that would tell me she was still unsure. But she looked certain. And that made it harder. Because certainty doesn't always mean truth. Sometimes it just means someone has decided what they want. I miss you, she said. There it was. Simple. Direct. And heavy. I know, I replied. Her eyes filled slightly. That's it, she asked. That's all you're going to say? What do you want me to say? I asked. I want you to tell me you miss me too. I didn't answer. Because I did. Of course I did. But saying it out loud would mean something. Something I wasn't willing to give. I think about you every day, she said. About us. About what I threw away. That's normal, I said. Normal? She repeated, hurt. Yes, I said. You lost something important. Of course you think about it. She shook her head. No, she said. That's not what I mean. I didn't just lose something. I made a mistake, and I want to fix it. There it was again. Fix. Like this was something broken that could just be put back together. You can't fix this, I said. Why not? She asked, leaning forward. People come back from worse than this. Couples survive cheating. They rebuild. They move forward. They do, I said. Then why not us? She asked. Because we're not them. Because what we had isn't what we have anymore. Because I already let go. But I didn't say any of that right away. Instead, I asked her something else. Why did you end it with him? She blinked, caught off guard. Because I realized I still love you, she said. I held her gaze. Be honest. She hesitated. And there it was. The crack. I realized it wasn't going anywhere, she admitted. It wasn't what I thought it was. I nodded slowly. Exactly. Her expression shifted. What does that mean? She asked. It means you didn't choose me, I said. You just stopped choosing him. Her eyes widened slightly. That's not true, she said. It is, I replied calmly. If it had worked with him, you wouldn't be here. Silence. Heavy. Unavoidable. She opened her mouth. Closed it. Tried again. I came here because I love you, she said, softer now. I leaned forward slightly. And I believe you, I said. Her face lifted a little. Hope. Small. Fragile. And then I said the part she wasn't ready for. But that doesn't change anything. The hope broke almost instantly. Why? She whispered. And for the first time since she sat down, my voice changed. Not louder. Not harsher. Just more real. Because I don't want to spend the rest of my life wondering if I'm your second choice. She stared at me, and I could see it. The moment it finally made sense. Not just in her head, but in her chest. In that place where the truth actually lands. I didn't choose him over you, she said weakly. You did, I replied. You just didn't think you'd lose me because of it. Her eyes filled again. And this time, she didn't try to stop it. I chose you now, she whispered. I nodded slowly. I know. And it's not enough? She asked. I shook my head. No. She looked down at the table, her hands trembling slightly. And for the first time, she didn't argue. Because deep down, she already knew. She sat there for a long time without saying anything. Just staring at the table, her hands wrapped around each other like she was trying to hold something in place. I didn't rush her. There was nothing left to push. Nothing left to prove. The truth had already settled between us. And this time, neither of us was trying to move it. Do you still love me? She asked eventually, her voice barely above a whisper. It wasn't a trap. It wasn't manipulation. It was honest. And that made it harder. Yes, I said. Her eyes closed for a second, like the answer hurt more than she expected. Then why does it feel like you don't care anymore? She asked. I took a breath, choosing the words carefully. Because I'm not trying to keep you anymore. She opened her eyes. Confused. Hurt. But if you love me, shouldn't you fight for me? She asked. There it was again. That idea. That love is something you prove by refusing to let go. I used to think that, I said. And now I think love is also knowing when to stop. She shook her head slowly. I don't understand that. I know, I said. And I did. Because a few weeks ago, I wouldn't have understood it either. I leaned back in my chair, looking at her. Really looking. Not at who she used to be. Not at who I wish she still was. But at who she actually was now. Someone who had made choices. Someone who had regrets. Someone who wanted a second chance. And someone I couldn't trust anymore. I forgave you the day I found out, I said. Her head lifted slightly. What? She asked. I forgave you that day, I repeated. She stared at me, trying to process it. That doesn't make any sense, she said. You threw me out. I know. Then how did you forgive me? She asked. Because I didn't want to carry it, I said. The anger. The resentment. All of it. She looked at me like she didn't recognize me. Then why are we here? She asked. If you forgave me, why can't we just move forward? I held her gaze. Because forgiveness isn't the same as staying. That landed. Slow. Heavy. Real. I forgave you for me, I continued. Not for us. Her lips parted slightly, but no words came out. So I kept going. I forgave you so I could sleep at night without replaying everything in my head, I said. So I don't turn into someone bitter. So I don't carry this into the rest of my life. She swallowed, tears slipping down her face now, quietly. But us. I said softly. That ended the moment you decided to build something with someone else while still being with me. She shook her head, like she wanted to deny it. But she couldn't, because this time, there was nothing left to argue. So that's it, she whispered. I nodded. That's it. She let out a small, broken breath. I thought if I fixed what I did, if I came back and chose you, it would be enough. I didn't respond right away, because I understood why she thought that. We grow up hearing that love is about coming back, about fighting through mistakes, about choosing each other, no matter what. But there's a part people don't talk about. The part where some choices change things permanently. It's enough for you, I said. Not for me. She wiped her face, trying to steady herself. I don't know how to accept that, she admitted. I know, I said. And I meant it. Because acceptance isn't something you decide. It's something that happens slowly, sometimes painfully. Will you ever change your mind? She asked. There was no hope in her voice now, just a need for certainty, for something solid to stand on. I thought about it, about everything, about who we were, about who we became, and about who I needed to be after this. No, I said. The word felt final, not harsh, not angry, just true. She nodded slowly, like she expected that, or maybe like she needed to hear it out loud to finally believe it. Okay, she said. We sat there for a few more minutes, not talking, not trying to fix anything, just existing in the aftermath. Then she stood up. I'm sorry, she said. I nodded. I know. She hesitated for a second. Then she leaned down slightly, like she was going to hug me. But she stopped herself, straightened, and stepped back. Goodbye, she said. Goodbye. She turned and walked away. This time, I didn't watch her leave. I didn't need to. I already knew what it looked like. I sat there for a while after she was gone, finishing my coffee, listening to the quiet noise of the cafe, letting everything settle. And for the first time since that Tuesday, I felt something different. Not relief, not happiness, but peace. Not because everything was okay, but because I had stopped trying to make it okay. On the way home, I passed the place where I used to buy her favorite takeout. I didn't go in. I just kept walking. And when I got back to the apartment, it didn't feel empty anymore. It just felt like mine. That night, I slept without staring at the ceiling, without replaying conversations, without wondering what I could have done differently. Because for the first time, I understood something clearly. Forgiveness isn't always about giving someone another chance. Sometimes, it's about giving yourself permission to move on.